Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive into really fascinating stuff. And, we're going to be talking about body language
I
today.
love it.
It's one of those things I think we all kind of know we do it, right? We sense it in other people.
Right.
But to really kind of break it down and learn how to see the tiny little details, I think is going to be really fun.
I
So
believe.
we're going to be looking at excerpts from a book called What Every Body is Saying by Joe Navarro.
Oh, great book.
And this guy is, he was an FBI agent for years and years.
Yeah, 25 years counterintelligence, and
Yeah.
he used body language to catch spies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the real deal.
Yeah, this is not some.
This is not pop psychology.
Yeah, pop psychology. This
Yeah.
is the real deal.
So so get ready to really kind of unlock some secret powers here and be able to see what people are really thinking and feeling, even if they're not saying it.
Absolutely, it's like having X-ray vision into people's true emotions.
Yeah. So before we dive into specifics, let's talk about the big picture here. Why is nonverbal communication so important?
Well, it's important because we do it all the time, whether we're aware of it or not.
Right.
We're constantly sending and receiving nonverbal signals, and these signals that can really make or break our interactions.
Okay, but how much are we talking about here? Is it like a tiny percentage of our communication, or is it a lot more than we realize?
It's huge. It's the majority of it.
Really?
The research says it's like 60 to 65% of all human communication is nonverbal.
Wow, that's way more than I would have guessed.
And think about it, like when you meet someone for the first time, you size them up.
Yeah, you get a feeling.
You get a feeling about them right away, and that's based largely on their nonverbal cues.
So their words might be saying one thing, but their body language could be telling a totally different story.
Exactly. And that's because nonverbal communication, it's often more truthful than our words.
How is that possible? I mean, isn't it easier to tell a little white lie than to fake a whole body language routine?
Well, think about it. Our words, they're processed by our conscious mind. We can choose what we want to say.
Yeah, we can feel.
But our body language, it comes from a much deeper place. It's driven by our subconscious mind and specifically by the limbic system.
The limbic system.
Yeah, that's the ancient part of our brain that's responsible for our survival instincts and raw emotions.
So you're talking about those gut reactions, those fight, flight, or freeze responses that we have when we sense danger.
Exactly. The limbic system is the engine behind those three Fs. And Navarro's book is full of fascinating examples of how they show up in our everyday interactions.
So if I'm understanding correctly, these limbic reactions, they kind of leak out in our body language, even if we're trying to keep a poker face.
Precisely, our body betrays us.
So someone might say they're fine, but their body could be screaming, "Get me out of here."
Absolutely. They might be leaning away from you or subtly shifting their feet towards the exit.
Their feet, really. Feet are that important.
You bet. We're going to get into that a little later. But yeah, feet are very honest.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's definitely talk more about feet, but first let's go back to those limbic reactions. What happens after the initial shock or stress? How does our body language change then?
That's where pacifying behaviors come into play.
Pacifying behaviors.
Yeah, it's like our body's way of hitting the reset button after a stressful experience.
It's like our inner self is saying, okay, deep breaths, let's calm down.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And these behaviors, they could be surprisingly revealing. Think about things like touching your neck, rubbing your forehead, fidgeting with your jewelry, or even yawning excessively.
Oh, wow. I do all those things. I never realized they were connected to stress.
Yeah, we often do these things without even realizing it, but they're our body's way of trying to soothe itself.
So if I'm in a meeting and I see someone start touching their neck or rubbing their forehead, it's a clue that something's making them uncomfortable.
It's a little signal saying, hold on, something's not quite right here.
That's fascinating. I'm already starting to see how paying attention to these subtle cues can give us a whole new level of insight into what people are really thinking and feeling.
It's like learning a secret language.
Yeah, and speaking of secret languages, you mentioned feet being really honest.
Oh yes, feet don't lie.
Okay, spill the beans. Why are our feet such reliable indicators of our true feelings?
Well, it all comes down to evolution. See, our feet have been crucial for survival for millennia, and our brains are wired to prioritize their movement for safety.
So while we might try to control our facial expressions or hand gestures, our feet are often blurting out the truth.
You got it. And Navarro describes this phenomenon as happy feet. Think about that bouncing, jiggling motion you see when someone is genuinely excited, like a child, eager to open a present.
Oh yeah, I can picture it.
It's a subconscious expression of joy that's hard to fake.
And I guess on the flip side, if someone's feet are pointed towards the exit, even if they're saying they're interested, they might actually be looking for an escape route.
Exactly. It's like their body is already planning their escape, even if they haven't said a word.
This is incredible. I'm already starting to think about all the situations where paying attention to feet could be super helpful, like in a business negotiation, a first date, or even a job interview.
It's like having a secret window into their true feelings.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've talked about feet, which are obviously down low. What about the torso? That's like the core of our body where we feel emotions so deeply.
The torso is a goldmine of nonverbal information. It really is. And one of the first things to notice is the way someone leans.
Like leaning in or leaning away.
Exactly. When we lean towards someone, it generally signals comfort and agreement, while leaning away suggests discomfort or disagreement.
It's like our body is creating a physical representation of how we feel towards the other person.
Precisely. And there's another concept called ventral fronting.
Ventral fronted.
Yeah, it's a fancy way of saying that we expose our vulnerable front side, the ventral side, to those we trust and feel safe with.
So if I'm understanding correctly, ventral fronting is like a subconscious way of saying, I'm open to you. I feel comfortable in your presence.
Exactly. Think about how couples naturally lean in towards each other, exposing their ventral sides as a sign of intimacy and connection.
That's a great example. It really shows how these nonverbal cues are woven into our everyday interactions without us even realizing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, we have what Navarro calls the torso shield.
The torso shield sounds defensive.
It is. These are behaviors like crossing our arms or buttoning up a jacket, which can act as barriers when we feel threatened, uncomfortable, or simply want to create some distance.
It's almost as if our body is literally trying to shield itself from something negative.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about the body itself. What we wear sends messages to.
So we're talking about clothing as an extension of our body language.
Exactly. Uniforms project authority. A well-tailored suit can convey confidence. Even the colors we choose can influence how others perceive us.
Wow. I'm already starting to see the world in a whole new light. This
Yeah.
is way more than just decoding a few hand gestures. It's like learning an entirely new language.
And just like learning any language, the more we practice, the more fluent we become.
Hmm.
So let's delve a bit deeper into some other areas of the body and see what messages they're sending.
So we talked about the torso, which is kind of like our central command center for emotions. What about the arms? They seem to bridge the gap between our core and our hands, which we use to interact with the world.
It's a great observation. And you're right, the arms can tell us a lot about what's going on inside. One of the first things to notice is arm withdrawal.
Arm withdrawal.
Yeah, when we feel uncomfortable or threatened, our arms naturally tend to move closer to our bodies, as if we're trying to protect ourselves.
It's like our arms are creating a little bubble of personal space when we're not feeling so great.
Precisely. Think about someone being asked a question that makes them nervous.
Yeah.
You might see them suddenly cross their arms or even hug themselves.
Almost like they're giving themselves a little hug.
Right. It's a subconscious way of creating a barrier.
So arm withdrawal equals discomfort. Got it. What about the opposite? When we're feeling confident and at ease?
Then we often see arm spread.
Arm spread.
Yeah. Think about someone giving a presentation who's really killing it. Their arms might be gesturing widely, embracing the audience and the space around them.
Like they're saying, I own this room.
Exactly. It's a powerful, nonverbal signal of confidence and openness. And it's interesting to note that arm spread often goes hand in hand with ventral fronting. Remember that concept of exposing our vulnerable front side?
Oh, right. So we're not just opening up our arms, but also our chest area, double whammy of, I'm comfortable with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, there's another arm gesture that's especially relevant in social situations, and that's arm adornment.
Arm adornment? What's that?
It's simply when we use our arms to touch or adjust things we're wearing, like our jewelry, clothing, or even our hair.
Oh my gosh, I do that all the time. I never realized it meant anything.
Well, habits can definitely play a role, but arm adornment can often be tied to our emotional state. For example, have you ever noticed that you touch your necklace or adjust your sleeves more when you're nervous or self-conscious?
You know what? Now that you mention it, yeah, I totally do. It's like I'm subconsciously trying to soothe myself or distract myself from the nerves.
Exactly. And that's why arm adornment is considered a form of pacifying behavior.
Fascinating. So we've got arm withdrawal, arm spread, and arm adornment. I'm starting to feel like I have a secret decoder ring for people's arms.
That's the spirit. Now let's move on to the hands. They're incredibly expressive and have been the subject of countless studies.
Where do we even begin? There are so many gestures to consider.
Let's start with something we all know, the handshake. It's a ritual that's been around for centuries, and it can still reveal a lot about a person.
You're telling me there's more to it than just a firm grip?
Oh, much more. The way someone shakes your hand can signal their personality and their intentions. For example, a dominant handshake, where the person turns their hand so their palm is facing down, can signal assertiveness or even aggression.
Like they're trying to establish dominance right from the start?
Exactly. Then you have the submissive handshake where the palm is facing up, which can indicate deference or insecurity.
So there's a whole power dynamic going on even in a simple handshake.
That's right. And then you have the neutral handshake where both palms are vertical. This is generally seen as the most polite and respectful handshake, conveying a sense of equality.
Meeting on equal ground. I like it. What about the double-handed handshake?
Ah yes, the double-hander. It can be a way of conveying warmth and sincerity, but it can also be used manipulatively to create a false sense of intimacy.
So it's all about context. A double handshake from your grandma might be sweet, but from a used car salesman, maybe not so much.
Exactly. Now, beyond the handshake, we have a whole world of hand gestures that communicate our thoughts and feelings.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, there's the steeple, where the fingertips are pressed together, forming a kind of church steeple shape. This gesture often conveys confidence and authority.
It's like the nonverbal version of I've got this.
Precisely. Then there's hand wringing, where the hands are twisted together,
Yeah.
which is a classic sign of anxiety or nervousness.
I've definitely done that one before, especially before a big presentation.
And then you have hand hiding, where someone keeps their hands in their pockets or behind their back.
What does that one mean?
It can depend on the context. Sometimes it's just a way of feeling more comfortable, but it can also signal deception or a lack of confidence.
So if I see someone hiding their hands, I should pay extra attention to their other nonverbal cues.
Exactly. Because there's always a reason why we do what we do with our hands.
I am learning so much today. I'm starting to see hand gestures everywhere.
That's great. And remember, it's not about memorizing a dictionary of gestures. It's about understanding the principles and reading the whole picture.
Right. It's about noticing patterns and clusters of behavior, not jumping to conclusions based on one gesture. But we've talked about hands, arms, and torsos. What about the
Yeah.
face? We can't forget the face.
Absolutely. The face is arguably the most expressive part of our body. It's a fascinating landscape of muscles and micro movements that can reveal so much.
Yeah, the face is like the main event, right? I mean, that's what we focus on when we talk to people, and it seems like we're pretty good at controlling our expressions, at least consciously.
Right. We do have some control over our facial expressions, but even those tiny little movements, the ones we're not even aware of, can be super revealing.
So it's like trying to spot a crack in a perfectly polished mask.
Exactly. And that's where micro expressions come in.
Micro expressions. Okay, you're gonna have to explain that one to me.
Think of them as fleeting facial expressions that flash across our face for a split second.
Oh, wow, so fast.
Yeah, they're often involuntary, and they can reveal our true emotions even when we're trying our best to hide them.
So you're telling me that there are all these hidden emotions flashing across our faces all the time, and we might not even realize it. That's kind of creepy.
It is kind of creepy when you think about it, but it makes sense when you consider how our brains work. While our conscious mind might be saying one thing, our limbic system, that primal part of our brain is constantly sending signals to our facial muscles, betraying our true feelings.
Okay, so if we can learn to read these micro expressions, it's like having a glimpse into someone's raw, unfiltered emotions.
Precisely. It's like having X-ray vision for the human face.
But hold on, how are we supposed to catch these micro expressions? They happen so fast. Wouldn't you need to be like some kind of super sleuth to spot them?
It does take practice and a keen eye for detail, but there are certain things you can look for. For example, a micro-expression of happiness might involve a subtle crinkling around the eyes, even if the person's mouth is forming a neutral expression, or even a frown.
So you're saying we should look for inconsistencies between different parts of the face, like a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes.
Exactly. Or you might see a fleeting expression of fear in someone's eyes, even if they're trying to project an image of confidence.
This is blowing my mind. I'm suddenly hyper-aware of all the tiny little movements happening on my own face.
That's actually a great place to start. Becoming more aware of your own nonverbal language is a great way to understand how it works in others.
It's like learning a new language, the language of the face.
I like that analogy, and just like learning any language, the more we practice, the more fluent we become.
Okay, so we've got these fleeting micro-expressions, but there are also the more obvious expressions that we all recognize, right?
Right, those are called macro expressions. They're more sustained and easy to read. We use them all the time to communicate our emotions.
So a big smile, a furrowed brow, a look of pain, those are all macro expressions.
Exactly. And while they're easier to control than micro-expressions, they still give us a ton of information about how someone is feeling.
It seems like the key is to pay attention to the full spectrum of facial expressions, from the super fast microexpressions to those longer-lasting macro expressions.
You got it. And remember, the face is just one piece of the puzzle. To really understand what someone is communicating, we need to consider all those nonverbal cues we've discussed.
Yeah.
From the feet to the legs to the torso, the arms, the hands, and of course the face. We need to interpret them all together in context.
It's like we're putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle of nonverbal clues.
That's a great way to think about it.
Now, Navarro also talks about how nonverbal communication can help us spot deception. But he's very clear that there's no single Pinocchio tell that guarantees someone is lying, right?
Absolutely. There's no magic bullet for lie detection. It's much more nuanced than that. It's about looking for clusters of behaviors that are out of sync with a person's normal baseline.
So we need to get a sense of how someone typically acts when they're being truthful, and then look for any inconsistencies.
Exactly. For example, if someone who's normally very animated suddenly becomes very still and avoids eye contact, it could be a sign that something's not right.
Or if someone starts exhibiting a ton of pacifying behaviors, like touching their face or fidgeting when they're usually pretty calm and collected, that could be a red flag.
Exactly. These deviations from a person's baseline, combined with other inconsistencies between their words and their body language, can give us a reason to pay closer attention.
But it's important to remember we're not trying to become human lie detectors.
Yeah.
We're simply trying to become more attuned to the subtle signals that people are sending.
Right. It's all about being more aware and using that awareness to build stronger relationships and navigate those tricky social situations.
Wow, I don't know about you, but I feel like we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. From those telltale happy feet to those protective torso shields to the intricate language of the face, it's clear that nonverbal communication is a powerful tool.
It really is. It's like a hidden language that we all speak.
So for all our listeners out there, the next time you're interacting with someone, pay attention to those subtle cues. What are their feet telling you? Are their arms open or closed? What fleeting emotions can you catch in their facial expressions?
The more you observe, the more you'll understand. And that understanding can make a huge difference in your personal and professional life.
It's like unlocking a secret code that can help us connect with people on a much deeper level.
Exactly, and who doesn't want that?
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of nonverbal communication.
It was my pleasure.
And remember, everybody, keep an eye on those feet.
They don't lie.